And Rising, this is the Straight Talk Network with the Straight Talk Morning Show. My name is Andre Hill. I'm your host, and my co-host and engineer, Andre Hill Jr. What's up, man?
I'm doing good. I think I'm getting better and better at this engineering thing. I think I am.
Praise the guardians of the Most High.
There's a lot of moving parts over there.
All right. Of course, we have our chairman of our political action committee and our enlightened ones, which is attached to our United Aboriginal of America's Republic. So how you doing this morning, Chairman?
Grand Rising, everyone. I'm doing fine. Got a beautiful day here in the Detroit area. Looking forward to a very enlightened show, as always. Still riding on that high from last week. You know, we disclosed a lot of information to a lot of people that weren't really aware. You know, so as long as they spread the word, this is going to be like a wildfire. You know, it's going to burn up the whole planet in a good way. Get people hot and ready, you know, not like that pizza though, you know, hot and ready to make some positive changes for society.
Absolutely. All right, Chairman. And I call him Chairman, but this is Terrence Lake. He's the author of God's Child. And he's going to be talking about that book later on in the show. So also we have the beautiful Elspeth, otherwise known as Elle Jackson. And she is from the Bahamas, and she is now the new spokesperson for our Aboriginal movement, our organization to establish full autonomy from this madness of the so-called United States corporate America government. This Elle Jackson, how you doing this morning, Queen?
I am feeling great. I am happy to be here. Welcome to everyone.
All right. So, you know, we only doing this show once a month, but we found when we discovered that while the United States government was disclosing the extraterrestrials, something was going on in St. Petersburg, Russia, with Vladimir Putin and African nations. So I'm starting to wonder, did they do this big disclosure thing to cover up what's really going on? So that's what prompted us to do this emergency broadcast, because we have to keep our listening audience in the mix, in the know, because this paradigm shift is happening immediately, not years from now, not even months from now, but immediately. This paradigm shift is in full bloom. And if you are not receiving information on how to adjust, how to change, even change your state of mind, then these low frequency entities, they will continue their madness and under the auspices of understanding that, well, they don't know and they're not going to do anything about it, so let's keep doing it. They will continue. So when we bring light to a subject, there's an old saying, in the absence of light, darkness prevail. So we're bringing the light so that you can wake up, get your head out of the sand, or feel reassured that there's a collective of people that want to make a difference on this planet. So that's why we're doing this emergency show, to keep everybody in our collective attuned to the moves that are being made on your planet that has been invaded and confiscated by some low frequency entities. They're not from here, and then some of them, the humans, are from here, who are very selfish and would rather their own personal egos and their financial illusion is massaged versus a collective action of all men are created equal on this planet. So that's why we're doing this show. Typically, we're going to be doing one show a month unless it gets to the point where you require or you get involved. The more you get involved, then the more shows we're going to do. So without further ado, let me go into what was posted. I just went off. What was posted on the on Facebook about what the show is all about. All right. So of course, hello Facebook and YouTube family. Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Straight Talk Network, while the U.S. government was confessing about lying concerning UFOs and ET beings, a serious meeting was going on in Russia with African leaders. This meeting held in St. Petersburg, Russia, will change the position of melanated people all over the world. Now, it's very important that we understand this. It's going to change the G7, the fascism, the white supremacy agenda is going to have to make some adjustments quickly. And that's why that was the other main reason as to why we're bringing this show on, because we want to prepare you for what that change is all about. So we will be discussing the how and the why. Since the US disclosure about UPAs/aliens, I have been concerned about how people that have been suppressed for so long are coping with this new truth. The truth being the United States government has admitted that they have deceived, suppressed, and lied about their interaction with extraterrestrials from other parts of the universe. This disclosure has uprooted much of the beliefs and religious teachings that we have subscribed to. I have garnered responses from friends, and I have experimented with my relatives. Typically you usually get like one elevated or high frequency individuals per family. So family members, just because you born into a family, don't mean they're gonna get along with it. So I had to use them to experiment to see how they're receiving this confirmation that the United States government has been lying all this time. All right. So I will prove to you, to add on to that melanated people have been praying to the wrong God. So tune in and be enlightened. So that's the foundation of the show. We're going to get started. Elspeth being also our executive producer, she laid out, so now we following a new protocol. I have a list of things, how to stay on topic. So how melanated folks are coping with the disclosure by the government on UPA's aliens, debunking of religious beliefs. What God have you been serving? All right. So I have my thoughts on how people have been responding. But how about I go, Chairman? We were talking just before the show on some of the people in your family or your friends or organizations that shunned you before are now starting to receive you. What's your take on that?
My take on it is that we're starting to get recognition, but I think that recognition is coming more from the government when they show certain news clips on, television about, disclosure. And then when my people see it, then it refers them back to when I used to talk about it, because I sort of stopped talking to them about it, since they thought I was crazy 50 years ago. But now they are more inquisitive to want to know how I know what I know. And, they're probably getting with people when I'm not around and discussing, Terry you remember Terry used to say this? Now the government's talking about it. And, it's a possibility that extraterrestrials are real, and they didn't understand the cover of my book. Like I say, one time a lady said that she thought it was a bunch of rocks on the cover of my book. But I say, these are big rocks, planets, suns, moons, comets, galaxies in the background, huge rocks, but now they're looking at it, they're seeing from a perspective of this is a part of the universe and it's centered on us. And here we are, trying to get it together, on planet Earth. And that's what our show is all about, trying to enlighten the people of the reality of what's going on today and look at it from outside of our planet, from the solar system. I'm showing you planets, it discounts the theory of the flat Earth. When you look at planet Earth, it's round. If you understand how we go around the sun, you can see every 24 hours we turn as we go around the sun. So I don't know how much of this they're teaching in school today, but when I was coming up, they didn't teach this in school. You know, they might have said it was 9 planets and that was it. And in the last 30 years, they say, okay, well, what is it? Pluto is not a planet because it's not as big as it should be. But they've also found other planets bigger than Pluto that we weren't able to see in our solar system. So what are they going to say is more than the 8 actually, because you got to judge them by size? But, you know, all this information is starting to come out, you know, and it's waking people up. And you got to just start thinking about it, you know, question yourself. Is it? How can it be? Open your mind, you know, because it's here for us, you know. But like I say, with family members, they're getting inquisitive, you know, and this news media is bringing it out because they did show a little bit on channel 2, 4, and 7. I say 2, 4, and 7 because that's the main stations that we have here in the Detroit area. They don't speak long, but they do inform society. So you won't say that, oh, I didn't know, or they didn't tell me. They could always pull up a newscast and show you that 1 minute that they did talk about it, but they get behind closed doors and they talk about it in extents, you know, long, and they go over it with a fine tooth comb. So, you know, people gotta just wake up and listen at least. You know, you don't have to do what a person say do, but at least listen. And then you got options, you know, instead of just having one ideal and that's it. And once that ideal is no longer efficient, you know, then you got something else you could look to or forward to. Because if you only look at one and something happened to that, then you lose your mind because you just don't know which way to turn. So keep an open mind. I'll land that plane right now.
So Chairman, just real quick, I'm getting the kind of resistance. I don't know. Are they embarrassed? You know, because I'm very careful about not just saying in your face, I told you. You know, I'm very careful about that. What's your take?
I think that most of them, they've been so indoctrinated on religion as far as the Jesus part, that Jesus is going to save us and all this here, and that there ain't nothing else but planet Earth. You know, that's the biggest problem. You know, when you think that, you know, it's just right here, you limit your intelligence, you know, as lack of a better word, you limit your intelligence when you just think it's just this planet here. When you open your mind and you realize how vast the universe is, and then you look at the history of this planet, you know, there's too much evidence showing you that there are intelligence other than on this planet Earth right here, you know, and the government's telling you, you know, and there are other people speaking on it, but you're not listening, watching the right channels and the right programs, like what we've been doing for the past 2 years, trying to inform you what's happening in this universe, not just on planet Earth or in the United States, or some people are neighborhood bound. They don't get out of their neighborhood. You got to take yourself out there. You know, you don't have to go physically, but mentally get out there. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no, that's what we want to hear. So, Al, you know, from your generation, what kind of feedback have you been getting about the, you know, since the disclosure and it's coming out in the open that the United States government and all the governments are coming clean with this issue?
Yes.
Okay, the response that I've been getting is generally, for the most part, people are desensitized to this. I think for a very long time, the media has been presenting us with movies, plays, books, fictional books, so-called fictional books on this topic. So I think for a lot of people, it went over their heads in a way, because they've been seeing it, at least for the past 20 years in film. So while they recognize that, hey, this is something real, for a lot of them, it's an image, it's a conversation that they are used to seeing at this point. So the general response is, what's next? That's the gist of what I've gotten from people in my generation. What are we going to do with this information?
All right. Well, hey, that's clear enough. So for those of that you are listening, I think my son has posted a telephone number. We're gonna, if you want to weigh in, you can dial this number, and we have some limitations on. This is a new feature, so dial in, and the engineer will let you in. But as we go on, son. What kind of feedback you've been getting? You have a university where you teach astrology. So what are your students saying, or what are the non-believers are saying?
I had something funny to say. The way my generation is responding. This is how they're responding. It's cool that they showing up. We know they've been here, but I'm still got to pay these bills though. That's
good.
my generation is responding. But in general, this is what I'm interpreting from my generation, from a spectrum of responses, is they are welcoming the idea of extraterrestrial or intradimensional beings. That's my new term for them, intradimensional or interdimensional, whatever. Inviting the idea of them. Would love to actually. This is truly what my generation is, because I've heard a couple of people say we still don't have irrefutable proof, which is technically true. Meaning, a group of a undeniable group of interdimensional and/or extraterrestrial beings has not directly contacted the public, exclusive of any government, right? So my point is, that's what my generation wants to see at this point. They want an alien to walk up to their front door. You feel me? That's where they're at. Like Elle said, we have, especially our generation. Me and Elle are the same generation. Mm-hmm. So I'm vouching for you. Ain't that old. You see what I'm saying?
Thank you.
What my generation has been exposed to is again, all of the movies, all of the fiction, art, documentation, presentation over the last 40 years, almost in preparation for this, but it ain't meeting the standard of the stuff we was reading and watching on TV, right? Not quite the standard. Now, but what we can, or let's say we are thoroughly observing the governments who are disclosing this information. But we're finding it peculiar that, the government has to disclose the information, for one, and still yet we haven't seen any hardcore evidence. Now, on the other end of it, a lot of my generation are also claiming, I've been seeing ETs since I was 2 years old. A lot of us are saying we've already made contact in various ways. So this is why I also say interdimensional, because their experiences are in dreams. That includes me. You have people who say they've seen them in reality. And right. And so then you have two different subsets in that, to where you have people who've seen them by themselves, which is a thing. If you've seen something by yourself, then instinctively, okay, I ain't have any witnesses on this, so this was either only my perception, only meant for me. But it becomes an entirely different thing when you experience this as a collective. And that in particular, I think, is what my generation is really, really wanting.
All right, so your generation has been neutered per se, because my generation, we still don't have any influence over you, because we told our children, go to school, you got to be 3 times as better than the other cultures, go get a job with a system that hates you. And so, my generation has lost respect and traction. And then we turn around and say, they won't listen to us. And if I say to my generation, well, how about all of us come together, us old heads, and start working on a plan to build a social, economic, political infrastructure to get our children out of a system that hates them, you know. And you know, I'm still beating my head up against the wall with that. You know, and I'm now starting to reflect on the laws of karma is going to correct all the people from my generation that still want to sit back and do absolutely nothing. So part of I'm going to do. Let me do a quick commercial before I give my take on what my relative said. This show right now, we understand that the masses are making some serious adjustments dealing with this reality.
Yes.
So what we're appealing to is the first 144. There's a mathematical equation in this solar system based on 144. 144 people, 1,444, then 144,000. So I'm appealing to those, and we explained in last week's show, if you are a person that's feeling isolated on this planet, if you feel that you are different, if you feel you are benevolent in your heart, don't, you know, in terms of destroying them, killing animals, if when you were a child, if you felt different, from a standpoint of you can see things that a lot of other children, I'm not just talking about you Pisces, that other children can't see, then you are one of the 144. We're looking for you. We need you to get involved in this movement because you're the ones that are operating on a frequency that is capable, once we come together as a collective, we can manifest miracles, as they call them, by example. So for you 144 people, come get with us. Email us. You can email us at what's our email address? You got it posted, man.
Yeah, Lucifer's Revenge 77 at gmail.com. That's Lucifer's no apostrophe Revenge 77 at gmail.com. I'll put it in the live chat.
So the issue here is to those 144, whoever you are, anywhere on this planet, it doesn't matter what your skin color, what your sex, what religion you were brought up and indoctrinated in, all those experiences were there for you to bring into the collective at this point in time. So stop sitting back saying it ain't no hope, because you are never, ever to give up. You don't have the authority to give up. If you say, the hell with this planet, you know, I tried to get them to respect and appreciate my talents. If you ever give up, the Guardians got a real serious retribution for you, because they blessed you, they protected you the whole time that you've been on this planet. So what we're saying to you, we need you guys to come in, let it be known who you are. You know, I've been doing this for quite some time, and you know, I think about giving up. Sometimes I can relate to why Lucifer did not respect the humans on this planet, because we do dumb stuff. But that's not our job. You know, there's a supreme being, and it has its mission of balance. And so even though you got humans on this planet that are doing dumb stuff, you know, that's all part of the test to force you to come together as a collective to make a difference. And that's to demonstrate by example. So this is an appeal. This is your marching orders to you rare people. And you're probably the only one in your family. So guess what? The family you were born in is not necessarily your spiritual family that you're going to finish up this track with. You know, so we are your family. Come get with us. Stop stepping back, trying to figure it out all by yourself. We have elders in this group from our generation, from me and the chairman's generation. We got them in all over. So, you know, we have answers to the question, but we must. The only way a change is going to be made is that we demonstrate by example. Every time we demonstrate by example, the Guardians intervene and they shut these idiots, these mentally deranged, psychotic maniacs who call themselves the 1%ers. Every time we demonstrate that we're going to make a difference, they can intervene, shut those fools down. You know, so whoever you are, we're looking for the first 144, and then after that, the 1,400, then the 144,000. Those are the sequence of the power structure that we're going to bring in to raise the frequency on this planet to make a difference. So if you wanted 144, get with us. And of course, we want you to get a copy of the book, because there's a manual of every step we need to take from this point moving forward on how we're going to fix this planet. Otherwise, we give up and the planet is shut down, because it's going to be shut down if you give up. You're the ones with the authority now. If it's shut down or the rapture happens, which is a nuclear war, that's what the rapture really means. You have to come back, but all those gifts you were given in this lifetime, they're going to be watered down, and you're going to be reincarnated into a situation with a high degree of difficulty. Now, I tell this to my son, everybody on this panel, I don't want to have to do this again. I don't want to take this test again. I want to get it right this lifetime. So that is my appeal to the 144. So my take on what I did with some of my relatives, I sent one relative a little text, you know, and every relative responded to me, please don't send me any more of these. Don't. I said, well, I love my relative at a distance. I said, you know, because they are afraid that they will get, if they demonstrate that they're waking up out of this dumb crap, that they'll receive retribution from their employer. So I understand, you know, because their mentality is, hey, I got to pay these bills, I got to eat. All right. The 144, we're going to create a system to free them out of the slave system. That's why you're needed, because your relatives ain't going to get it right. They ain't going to respond. They ain't joining you because they don't have no proof. They're doubting Thomases and Thomasinus, if you want to do your relationship.
Well, Andre, I had a question. And this is more so directed to Terrence, because he came out with his information a very long time ago. And, you know, I'm observing the generation that's above me, and I'm trying to figure out what's the problem. Is it that they're looking at this information as just a conspiracy? Or is it that they have that Christian stronghold? They don't want to see anything else other than Jesus and other than church. Do you think that it's worse now than it was maybe back then, Terrence, when you brought your book out? Or do you think it's worse? It's worse now?
I think it's better now, because
Okay.
when I was coming up, you know, different schools taught different things. In my school in Hamtramck, which was dominated by the Polish community, we were taught that there were 3 groups of people that were put on planet Earth. And so when people get this in their mind, it makes you think, okay, how do we come about? We were put, okay, who put us here? If you say God, then where's God at? How did he put us? Where did he go when he put us here? If you open your minds and you start saying, okay, well, maybe we did come from somewhere else to the planet, because look at the different people. And like I say, there were 3 groups. There was a Caucasian, the Mongoloid, and the Negroid is what I was taught, you know, that were put on planet Earth. Now, I don't know of any Caucasians that I grew up with, and I have them in my family through marriage and procreation, that believe that they came from us. You know, when you go back into their history, they felt they came here. When they came here, they were like Lord this and King that, and you know, they were explorers and conquerors, you know. And when they first came into Africa and the Africans seen them, some of the Africans thought they were sort of like gods, except for the more advanced Africans that realized that they were humans like them, but they were just trying to welcome them into the brotherhood, you know. So it's what you've been taught, you know. Certain information can be taught to you a certain way, and you could elevate to become a universal soul, you know. It's just information. So if you weren't really taught much, you don't have much in you to deal with, like a computer. If you don't put nothing in it, you ain't gonna get nothing out of it. But the more you put in it, the more you can get out of it. And like I say, we live in an infinite universe. So the knowledge is just forever and ever. Infinite intelligence exists. But the biggest problem is, what have you been taught, or what haven't you been taught? Some people haven't been taught anything. They're just going along with the program. Some people go to church and don't even really believe in Jesus, but they go along because they figure, okay, I'm carrying my Bible. People gonna think I'm religious. I'm following the crowd. But when they find out that Jesus' possibility wasn't real, or all the real things that they say Jesus is supposed to be, then how are they going to feel then when they find out Jesus did not walk on water? No human walks on water, unless you got some type of boat shoes or something that's going to keep you afloat, but it's the information. That's why I love the Straight Talk Network, because we can talk about our ideals, our thoughts, our dreams, and come together, and it's happening. I think it's better now than it was in the past, because like I say, when I was doing it, when I wrote my book 50 years ago and had it published, I mean, the publishing company kind of like, wow, where is he coming from? But we better get into this here because he's talking some good stuff, But then, they did what they had to do just in case I knew something that they didn't know. But some of them knew where I was coming from. But like I say, it wasn't talked about then. So we'll keep this ace in the hole, this whole card case we need it, in a sense.
I just wanted to make one more point. I've expressed to Andre Sr., we're not going to be able to take everybody with us. This is not for everybody. Okay. And so I think that our best trajectory is to just lead by example. Just, that is what we're going to have to do, especially for the older generation, but we have to understand that it's not for everybody. Everybody's not going to be able to come and experience what this really is, and that's something that we have to accept.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I agree. Everybody isn't going to want to come, except when the majority of us start moving in that direction, then you're going to get those followers, and then they're just going to osmosisly start picking up on the vibes,
Absolutely. So so that's the call, Chairman. You made the call for the 144 to get them. They need to get on board immediately. So we got 2 videos that's going to bring all this into focus. Can you play that first one with the Caucasian man talking about? And the Caucasian man was 90% accurate. And the video after that, they're going to be short, so don't get bored. We'll explain, correct him on a particular issue.
America happening right, my people. Let's look at America. It's happening right now. We brought blacks into this country as slaves. We never intended them to be anything other than a slave. But they began to grow in number and in power, and eventually they fought their way to some freedom. So we became even more cruel, and to keep our black Americans down, we lynched, but yet they rose. So then we used the welfare system, the criminal justice system, to keep them down, to contain them, to destroy them, but yet they rose and they're rising. Then we built prisons and jails to hold them. Yet they rose. And so now we are doing exactly what the Pharaoh did at the end, sending out a decree, kill them. So until
That's it.
Yeah. So that's where we are right now. The decree is that they've tried everything to eliminate this mitochondrial DNA, our phenotype, from the planet, because this is part of Lucifer's revenge. That's why we wrote this book. Lucifer's revenge is he wants to replace the phenotype on this planet from the Aboriginals to a watered down phenotype. Mind you, Caucasian people, at one point, you had the original phenotype. And whatever happened in the circumstances many lifetimes ago, you ended up in those bodies. You lost the privilege. So how do you regain the privilege? We're gonna do that in another show. But right now, understand that you should be working on regaining the privilege to have a natural Aboriginal body so you don't have to hate on nobody. So you can run, jump, and some of you are evolving even in the Caucasian bodies at a different level. But think about this. If Black melanated folks didn't have all the stress and pressure, think about how fantastic they would be, even though they still showing out in the different sports and things. But it's under such extreme pressure. So this is what we want you to understand in terms of this collective of coming together. If the Lucifer's revenge, and the Lucifer, now let's deal with that real quickly, is a low frequency entity. It's a 1%er mindset. It's an immature, malevolent soul that's angry because they got mistreated. We're seeing that now, that all of those type of souls are being empowered by low frequency beings that want to corrupt this planet. All right, now let's go back and deal with what this Caucasian man, we brought you to the Americas to be slaves. What's that? Can you play that other video, man?
Gang. Showtime.
Ho, ho, ho.
The American Aboriginal Mississippian culture flourished in America approximately 9,000 years before the arrival of European colonizers. This advanced civilization, which emerged around 800 CE, thrived in the region known as the Mississippi Valley. The Mississippian people developed complex social, political, and economic systems, leaving behind impressive architectural structures and intricate artwork. It is important to acknowledge that the Aborigines of America, those later classified as Negroes, are indeed the true first Americans, as they inhabited the land long before any Asian or European presence. The Mississippian culture was characterized by its agricultural practices, particularly the cultivation of maize, beans, and squash. This allowed for the establishment of permanent settlements and the development of a stratified society. The Mississippian people built large earthen mounds, some of which served as platforms for ceremonial and political activities. These mounds, such as the famous Cahokia Mounds in present-day Illinois, demonstrate the architectural prowess and organizational skills of the Mississippian civilization. It is crucial to recognize that the Aborigines of America, who were later classified as Negros and even later as African Americans, are the original inhabitants of the Americas. Their presence predates any European colonization by thousands of years. The Mississippi
Region is ours. Bang.
All right, so let's throw the ball around on this one. Elle, what do you think about that?
I think it's all facts.
Okay. They didn't bring us nowhere. We was already here. So part of our movement, melanated people, you're not Black, you're not African Americans, you are Aboriginals. From the beginning, you were the first creation that was well engineered to serve on this planet and evolve spiritually through your experiences. All right. So the Caucasian man was correct that they are evil with their intent towards us, but they didn't bring us nowhere. There were Africans brought here, and we were all thrown in the same camp and called slaves, along with the Africans. So during that time period, the Aboriginals here in the Americas mixed with those African slaves. So that's why we got different variations of hair and all these other crazy things. But no, but that is true. Their intent is to kill us. So get your head out of the sand. And stop sitting back saying, well, it's gonna be what it's gonna be, or they're gonna do what they want to do. No, if you sit back and let them, they will. Julian, what's your take on that, man?
On the video?
Yeah.
Man, you know that I done You always ask me the most vague questions. Take on that. There's a lot of information in there, right? But yeah, the notion that what we call ourselves as African Americans today is a what's the word here? Erroneous. Erroneous is the word. An erroneous description of who we are and what the actual history on this landmass is, let alone in the rest of the world and Africa. But you already drove the point home on whether or not we indigenous to this land called America. And we ain't arguing that point no more with nobody, because we already got the facts and the receipts, right? But this is the point I want to make in particular. As it is right now, currently right now, the Black Aboriginal movement, the renationalization of Aboriginal Black people in the Americas is very strong right now, especially like you say, as a result of the pressure applied over the last, let's say, 100 years, just going back 100 years, let alone prior. So, but what we're facing with that movement is this: we're facing ridicule and discreditation from Europeans, also Mongoloid and Native Americans. And so, I just want to bring that point up. So, because when people, Black people in particular, are waking up and or attaining this information about being Aboriginal to this land, you already got some roadblocks in place. It's fine, because we already got the receipts. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about them trying to disprove that you are Aboriginal to this land. Again, we ain't arguing that point with nobody. But on the other end of this stick is we have African Americans, so-called Black people in America, fighting people who were claiming Aboriginality, saying, y'all making up some new stuff. We all from Africa. And we understand where they're coming from, because again, they've been indoctrinated as well. We tend to think that ancient historians, or let's say even colonial Caucasians, colonial Europeans, couldn't have been as intelligent enough to fabricate an entire history of someone. But I'm here to tell, when you really look back in history, and the result of most wars, the result was the victor fabricated the history of the loser.
Tells the story every time.
For sure.
Every time. And in great elaboration too. Like this. Back then, there was no TV, there was no internet, so you had people with great imagination. They could sit around all day and think of some shit to make up.
Mm-hmm.
Make up your whole, because that's what they got to do all day long in order to instill their survival. So with that being said, that is what we're facing, and I want to bring it to the table so that we can prepare our people and keep moving forward in the direction of renationalizing. Yes. Right. In other words, what we're talking about here is getting back to your original culture. Is like you having a nation on your own. You being sovereign, you being autonomous. That's not new to you. You true to that. Understand that's in your DNA. That's in your bloodline. You taught everyone how to do that. Okay. So again, reclaiming Aboriginal nationality on this land and making the connection with other melanated nations, probably first around the planet, is the call to order. In other words, we don't want to create a separation between Aboriginal Africans and Aboriginal Americans. We want to create the bridge between us. We don't want to go to Africa and be like, we ain't from there. That ain't neither here nor there. That does not matter. That's useless. You want to go to Africans and say, hey fam, I see what y'all got going over here. Y'all smart. You feel what I'm saying? Y'all coming up with all kind of new technologies over here that would fit very well into a self-sustainable microcosm. We want to collaborate with you. That should be your mindset. And I'm gonna leave it right there.
All right, so sticking with the agenda, Chairman, I want you to wrap this up at a point. So I wanted to bring this out because our time, and the engineer said we need to keep this into within an hour.
We'll go a little bit over. That's fine. I mean, just not 2 hours like we did last time.
All right. So, but at any rate, sticking with me, and there's one little small story I got to tell about one of my relatives and to what extent they will go to stay in this matrix of ignorance, but I'm gonna hold that. So here's a key point that she drafted the outline for us to follow. Disclosure has been discovered as a false flag to distract African-Russian summit to distract us from the African-Russian summit. This is very critical right now that we understand what's going on. Now, these Caucasians that are running the shadow government and our open government here in the Americas, they know now, they're starting to sound like the ultimate liar or pimp is who you gonna believe, me or your lying eyes? So they know that people are having these experiences. For them to continue to lie and say, we don't know nothing about these UAPs, UFOs, or these extraterrestrial, it's just your imagination. So they realized that lie is no longer going. So they knew they had to come out with it and to settle the mind, because we're more sophisticated and social media has opened everything up. So what they did is they knew that this African summit was very powerful because it's now encouraging melanated people, the Aboriginals all over the planet, to shake this illusion, this slave mentality that this white image is superior when it's not. All right, so what is about to happen right now? Elle and I discussed the different countries that attended this summary and ones that did not. And I can give you a brief description of, and I know my son can, he's an astute astrologist. But what Vladimir is doing, and I've told everybody over and over, Vladimir was born 6 days after me, so I know everything going on in his mind. He's an extreme, astute critical thinker, and he's not going to lose to the United States of America because he understands them. He's Caucasian, but his heart is, I'm going to survive, number one, and number two, I'm not a white supremacist racist or fascist. Like these Nazis and Ku Klux Klan and the South Shore Rise again, ignoramuses here in the Americas. So he is going to Africa offering them benefits because Africa, based on its land mass, is a very wealthy country with minerals, So he's going to, he understands the mindset, the mentality, this country and the European nations that are colonizers were based on racist, fascist, just like that man said. They have no intent of doing right by Aboriginal people. They're gonna lynch you, do it, and incarcerate you. They will do that all the way up to the point where they are right now. Well, ain't none of that working. We got to kill them. Wake up, people. People from my generation. Our children are getting ready to be murdered without having a chance. All right, so here we are with why the United States decided to post this disclosure right now. It's because they're setting it up for a false flag. I can tell in the way they answer questions that they answer and ones they claim, I can't answer those. Well, then you're going to disclose, why are you going to, that's the nature of this demon. They ain't going to tell you the whole truth. So they're only going to disclose certain things, but we know the whole truth. They have been with low frequency extraterrestrials who's been given a free pass to create obstacles and challenges for the human race for a very long time. They have agreements with them in place. So now they're setting it up so that the hand-me-down technology that these low-frequency extraterrestrials have given them, they're gonna fake it like they're aliens and gonna get you to submit to their artificial intelligence illusion. So that's where we are. All right, so let's spread this around. Hey, Chairman, it's a false flag, the whole thing. But how do you see this? How do you see it from your perspective as the false flag component?
The false flag that I see is the deception which they're trying to throw us off, because, you know, you got to go way back to the Catholic Church when Galileo discovered that Earth wasn't the center of the universe, that we were revolving around the sun. And the church told him to discount his theory and go to the public and announce that that's not true. Well, if he had not announced that it wasn't true, they were going to kill him. So he went out there and told what the church told him to tell. But eventually he still continued to write that the earth went around the sun. Okay. Now, when our Caucasian brothers came here to this planet, they knew they came from another planet, you know, and when they came here, they were trying to find a good place to live. Normally, if you're a space-bearing nation, you're going to try to find an equator where the land is good and tropical climate conditions that suit for life, you know. So when they came here and they couldn't get the best of land, they had to go somewhere in Europe to establish themselves and then try to eventually creep into where the better land is. Now, this happened over thousands of years. So some Caucasians gave up the ideal of trying to go and find that planet that they came to and just live here on Earth in peace with us. Some did, and some didn't. The ones that don't want that peace and harmony, those are the ones you got to watch. The ones that are envious, jealous, hateful, you know, they are the problem. But the ones that are here to live, that they want their children to have an opportunity, they're just like us. We're all the same. And they're making a difference. That's why you see on television today these commercials and showing interracial mixing. I mean, going back 40, 50 years ago, that could have not happened. But they realized that, okay, well, let people be people. Let them choose who they want to choose. When a white chooses a black, they automatically know that it's going to dilute their genes. So they don't have to marry into the black. But those that do, that's on them, you know, because blacks have never been afraid to mix with anybody, because usually if you mix with them, it just increases your population. So the thing is, you know, we want to learn how to live in harmony. Most whites want to learn how to live in harmony. And sometimes I think about blacks, some don't want to live in harmony because they want vendettas and revenge, and that is not the way. But our whole purpose is to learn how to live in harmony with each other. And for those that want to go out and find another planet or fill the planet they came from, they want to get there, more power to them, as long as they don't destroy Earth. Because a lot of us don't want to leave Earth. We want to stay here till our dying days. But there are certain people, even some blacks, want to leave and venture out. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. That's why you see the extraterrestrials are letting us know that they're there, because you see UFOs, unidentified flying objects. It's an object that you see, you can't identify it, but you know you don't have no knowledge of its makeup, where it originated from, you know, and we know that. So the ideal is we got to come together. That's the whole bottom line. We got to come together, live in harmony, and everything will be all right. I'll land that plane.
All right. Hey, Al, what do you think about this false flag by the United States government?
I feel as though it's very deceptive, very misleading, because we do know factually that there are UAPs out there. We know that aliens do exist, but it's almost as if they're making a mockery of it. And like the chairman said, it's to throw us off. Okay. And again, to my older generation, you really have to take this into consideration, because do aliens go to church? Are they in First Baptist every Sunday morning? I mean, think about it. This is your government, who you've been believing all these years, telling you that, hey, these beings do exist. So you really need to sit down and take that into consideration. On the other half, the false flag, the nature of that, again, is to distract us from one of the biggest summits that took place this year. At this point, Africa is a big real estate deal on the planet. Africa has the heaviest voting bloc in the United Nations. And so I feel as though they were trying to deflect from the fact that Russia is trying to create a good relationship with the continent, with Africa. And that's something that we need to be concerned about as well. Mm-hmm.
So before I pass this on to the son, because he's working on systems of self-sustainability, but our native nation here in the Americas need to start getting prepared to meet with African nations and Putin as well, because there are resources that we can get access to. But hey, man, how do you see this false flag, and what do you suggest we do to get involved in this paradigm shift?
False flag. Let's deal with that. False flag. This is an intricate opinion I'm about to throw out here, but this is what I think. So, in conjunction with our book, Lucifer's Revenge, take a look at that character, Lucifer. And I throw this out here kind of as, no pun intended, as devil's advocate when I'm talking to people about this. Talking to people about the concept of the devil or Lucifer, whatever the case. I ask people, who did the devil touch? Exactly. Right? When you really look at it objectively, technically the devil was not allowed to truly touch, bother, like really, really, truly physically influence anybody to do anything. The only thing that the devil, Satan, Lucifer was able to do was suggest.
Yep.
That's right.
Right. Listen, I'm just throwing this out here as a point, not, I don't condone it, whatever. So get mad at me. It's the fact stuff. I didn't bring these statistics up. I'm pretty sure a Caucasian guy did. All right. So this guy, he brought up the difference in stats on the kill rate of the God versus the devil. And it was like God had like a 7,000% kill rate in comparison to the devil, according to the Bible. All right, but my point is this. Again, I'm not, trying to fluster anybody. I'm not, So, but this false flag thing, in relativity to how Lucifer was only able to influence, but his primary motive behind doing that was to say, these humans ain't ready, let me have them. Right? That was his plea to God, like, no, these humans ain't ready. Right? And they're not ready to come into the abode of heaven. Let me torture them, whatever his motives were. You see what I'm saying? Let me deal with them for a little bit longer. Let me test them a little longer.
Yes.
Right? Let me test them a little longer. So with our government all of a sudden coming out with a disclosure, which we, at this point, everybody, the other thing when you asked me earlier, what's my generation's take on this? If the government got his hands on it, my generation's take is some stuff in the game. There's something going on to where we can't fully trust a disclosure project facilitated by the government. And just like you said, that as why halfway disclose the truth? If you have alien bodies, show them. If you have alien craft, show it. To what extent was this really a disclosure? Right? What it sounds like to me is the government wants to say, now mind you, I do think they do have in custody alien bodies and craft. Again, I say keyword believe. I believe they do. I ain't seen it, so I can't say I know for sure, but I do believe they do. But what they want to do is control the narrative on the concept of extraterrestrials or interdimensional beings interacting with humans, because so they can continue to test people the same way Lucifer did. Said they ain't ready for full disclosure yet. Let me keep testing them. Let me keep my tentacles entrenched in their flesh so I can keep them paying bills, working 40-hour work weeks, worried about very minimal, like useless, everyday mundane experiences that have nothing to do with their evolution and higher consciousness. Right? Let me keep testing them. Like you say, kind of steering them into the realm of an artificial intelligent universe. The last question you asked me, how do we get involved in the new paradigm? The current one, well, in relation to what you're talking about, especially with Russia getting involved with Africa. And when we think about it, it's not just Russia getting involved with Africa. If y'all not paying attention, I'm not talking to my people on the panel. If y'all ain't paying attention out there, people, BRICS is a thing. What is it? Is Brazil? This is the acronym: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and I forget who the K is. Who's the K? I forget who the K is. And South America are saying we're going to consolidate all of our nation's resources and production capability to back a new trading item for the world. So how do we get involved with that? Circles right back around to reclaiming your own self-governance and autonomy. And what that really looks like today is your own nationality, in a sense. Right, your own nationality. I know that's a broad concept. We can break that down for you. You're gonna have to follow us for that. But your own nationality, because what your own nationality says is you have your own government. It means you were able to get a group of people to come together with a like mind and say, we're going to operate with integrity and morale under this structure. And this structure of governance is able to communicate and correspond with other governments around the world. It's just a measure of stating you are a civilized group of people who can organize, right? So that's how you get involved in this. And every other component underneath that self-governing structure, just like the chairman says, you got to come together. There ain't no other way to do this. You got to come together. And we already have everything we need as far as implementing the life we truly want to live outside of this parasitic regime. We have it. So that answer your question?
Yeah. It's on point. So, but you brought up a very good point that I didn't think about. One thing, disclosure. So the reason they don't want to show the alien craft, because there's the man-made alien craft that they've been reverse engineering, and then there's the true extraterrestrial craft that is from an advanced civilization. So they don't want you to see the difference between the two, because when they come at you with this man-made craft, with this new illusion to replace white supremacy, they don't want you to go like, look, man, we already know about this crap. That's some bullshit. And we ain't going along with this game, and we will bust a cap in you just like anybody else is trying to take away our freedom again. That was a good point. Same thing with the bodies. They got humans that have either birth defects or that were injured or something, that's going to be faking like they those aliens to get you to submit once again to their slave process. So that was a very good point. And
let me give one example of how this government will test us with a false flag hoax alien invasion, right? Listen, one of the ways, let's say a Luciferian agenda is going to, by way of a government, is going to test you. It has to test you in under a construct of experiences, right? In other words, Lucifer look at it like this: all I got to do is give you enough rope to hang yourself. That's how Lucifer thinks, right?
Mhm.
So it was extend the experience and say, wait a minute, let me test them with this experience. Meaning they will probably bring in a fake fleet of aliens, and then there'd be, a leader or something like that, some type of alien messiah. And under that alien messiah, a whole group of cults are set out from there, right? Be a bunch of people following this ideology of this, matter of fact, maybe how they plan on bringing the concept of the Antichrist through. You feel me? And you're gonna have a lot of groups of people out there who are gonna be easily swayed by what this charade is proposing. All right. So my point is, I'm gonna land this plane is let's just be extremely diligent and aware as we have been, so critical as we have been so far. I don't believe you. You're gonna have to come shake my hand, and I need to feel that you got a whole different biology before I believe that you're an alien, right? Maintain that level of skepticism and critique until we can get some real answers out of it. But I'm gonna land that plane. I know we're short on time. Go ahead, Dave.
All right. So yeah, and also the hologram technology is very advanced. So they will fool you. They'll create an image of Jesus walking on the water, and say, "Come on in and get exterminated." Be careful of that. The Christ is within you. You are the Christ. You are the Savior. Every individual. One other issue here. To white supremacists, Nazis, Ku Klux Klan, white nationalists, your God, Lucifer, was a black man. Listen to me. He pimped you and caused you to lose your privilege to your beautiful melanated body. Stop the madness, stop the cycle. Lucifer was a black man, and he created white supremacy as a part of corrupting the planet. His revenge was to corrupt the planet completely. So when you go with white supremacy, all that, just think about it. Your architect was a black man. Now he lost his privilege, and he had to incarnate into a melanist reptile, but he started out as a black man. So when you start going around thinking that we need to protect the white race, no, man, that's an illusion. That's some bull crap. That's a divisive measure. Nazis, you already, a certain faction of you went out into space, thought y'all was going out into space to dominate, got your ass whooped, and you came back with your tail between your legs, and now you think you're going to run this same Hitler crap on the planet. It ain't going to happen. Your God is a black man, so get over it. All right, so real quick, the African issue here. All right, so these African leaders, El and I broke them down, the countries that went to St. Petersburg, Russia to meet with Vladimir, and the ones that didn't go, and a breakdown of the leaders. I'm gonna try to be as quickly as possible. All right, so Berkheim, their African leader is a Taurus born in the year of the dragon. Now, based on my many years on this planet, a Taurus born in the year of the dragon, they're good entertainers, good athletes, but they don't need to be dictating and running a country. So what I'm saying to this brother, I'm not demonizing you, but understand you need to have a strong council of elders that you listen to and respect, because your mindset, you were chosen by Lucifer and his crew, or the Europeans, the G7, whatever they want, NATO, whatever they want to call themselves. You were chosen and underpinned for that reason. They know you are a physical being, that you're a great physical specimen, and can fight and impress your followers, but they know that they can corrupt you. All right. The Republic of Congo, their leader is a Sagittarius goat, and the other one is a born in the year of snake. They didn't have his first sign. So the Sagittarius goat is the older one, I think is the way I had it lined up. That's not a good call. But once again, if every African nation don't change their constitution to mandating that these leaders have a strong board of elders that they are mandated to listen to, they're going to run amok and they're going to be compromised. So one born in the state, he's very intuitive, but he can be selfish. He can be all about his own agenda. So as we start to consider our own Aboriginal nation here in the Americas and the Caribbeans, and we're going to come together and we're going to go post up with all these African nations, we're going to install a system of balance where just like in the Wilderness letter, it took out the natural order. So all of the elders in the slave camp were still called boy and girl and disrespected when they should have been held in high esteem. We're going to reinstall that in the Americas. And when we go meet with those nations, if they don't adjust their programming, they're not going to be able to keep up with us. They're not going to be getting access from the high frequency extraterrestrials to change this planet. So all of those brothers that are in place as leaders, don't get it twisted. Don't let your ego take you out of place. All right, Senegal. This guy, he is a Taurus, born in the year of the ox. Now that's pretty close to Hitler and Napoleon. So once again, that's a dictator mentality. You need that structure of elders in place. We just recommended this because the Aboriginals from America, we're coming, but we're coming with balance, with fairness, equality, self-sustainability. And we're going to implement a program where all of these wicked Caucasians that have been profiting off white supremacy, they're going to be the ones to start fixing this planet. They got to go out to the oceans, get all that plastic out of the ocean. They got to go into different lands they contaminated for the sake of profit. Those are the things that they need to do to straighten out their karma, their bad karma. All right, Central Africa. We got a Taurus, what's 421, man?
Let's say Aries, Taurus, cusp.
Yeah, and so and in the year of Rooster. Now that's funny to me because that's a comical kind of personality. So once again, these personalities are not the best mindset or for leading an entire nation. These individuals were chosen for their selfish agenda, and they went along with the hype. And my favorite movie, Devil's Advocate, Vanity was Lucifer's, and how it was portrayed in that particular movie, his greatest sin, vanity. So these clients are prone to being promoted because of their vanity. In Algeria, all right, we got 830-66. So that's a Virgo born in the year of horse. Not a good lead, not a good prototype for a leader. All right. But once again, everybody is capable of changing or changing their ways or repenting. But to reassure that, once again, you need a leader of elders, a nice mixture of people that's going to advise that leader on our moves. Not a dictator that was put in place by the European and he or she is beholden to the Europeans. Take this with a grain of salt, but take this with knowledge, the understanding, we're going to fix our program. The ones that did not or refused to attend, Kenya, 1221-66, that's a Capricorn, Sagittarius cusp in the year of horse. One of my best friends is born around 12/20/21/22. He's selfish, and he's born in the year of dragon. The horse is even more selfish. So once again, Kenya, y'all need to look at that leader, give him the opportunity to repair this. The Arab Democratic Republic, 819 49. That's a Leo born in the year of the horse. That's the same coordinates as Obama. So Obama, on the surface, appeared to be a good president, but he gave too many breaks to the banks and everybody else. Now, he did give us a health insurance, and he appeared to be a black man, but he was still beholden to that structure. So is this guy in the Democratic Republic, is he beholden? Very good chance he is. So we got to make that change. Republic, another nation that did not attend was the Democratic Republic of Congo. 6/13/63, that's a Gemini born in the year of the cat. That's not a good mix for leadership over an entire nation. All right. Rwanda, 10/25/57, their leader. That's a Scorpio born in the year of Rooster. The motivation behind that is not really good because he has a more of a physical addiction, and that's what's feeding his or her desire to be a leader. So to the Aboriginals of the Americas.
Wait, I want to interrupt you real quick.
Go right ahead.
I know they dying with this question. What coordinates would you recommend as a good leader of a country?
Correct me if I'm wrong, son. And there are 6 signs that are born in the negative, and there are 6 signs that are born in the positive. All right.
Well, you asked me to correct you if you're wrong. So when they say negative, what they typically mean is feminine versus masculine, not necessarily good versus bad.
Yes. All right. And let me add to that. Negative doesn't mean bad, and positive doesn't necessarily mean good. It's that positive energy is the electricity. A ground wire, if it's not attached to the positive energy, electricity go all over the place. So the reason you ever turn on a light switch and the energy goes directly to that light is because you got negative energy and positive energy. But right now, Lucifer knows that if I reverse that parallel, that paradigm, where the negative energy is controlling everything, as being demonstrated in these leaders in Africa, then that's when you have a dysfunctional government. All right. Okay, so just to let you know what is about to happen. This is the $55 million question. So what does this mean to melanated people all over the planet? Okay, 1, it means Lucifer's contract is up and they are trying to renew it. 2, it means you have an opportunity, the Americans, to collaborate with your African brothers and sisters on reclaiming this planet to restore balance. You have that opportunity. So you have 2 choices. Fix it or just remain a slave, lose your privilege to these Aboriginal bodies, keep going down, further down the evolutionary track. Because see, there's some humans now reincarnating into animals. Have y'all ever seen these shows where these animals are trying to talk and trying to do things that look almost human? And I don't know about that bear in China. That looked like that looked like somebody in a costume, but it was waving and they swore that was a real bear. These are humans reincarnated. So you can lose your privilege from a beautiful melanated body into a Caucasian body, into an animal, into an amoeba. And then as Elspeth, didn't you tell me something about, you reconfirmed that when you get downgraded to the amoeba, you get crapped out over and over again until you can rise back up to that level. You want to explain that? You want to hold your tongue?
Well, there is some texts that believe that there are different levels of hell. And so for a lot of these demons, as for lack of a better word, that are sent here to corrupt man, that's their choice. You go down to hell and you can be consumed by a spider and crapped out over and over continuously for eternity, or come to earth and wreak havoc on man. So yeah, it's a theory, it's a concept. But I wanted to read something that I saw here in the chat on Facebook from Bishop Omega.
You took the words right out my mouth. I was
Okay.
gonna highlight that. Go ahead, El.
He's just lighting us up with a lot of great information. His post says that holograms projected from satellites were used in the 1980s to portray sightings of Jesus and Mary in Los Angeles. There were lines for blocks of people wanting to view these sightings in the news, and government scrimmage in the community for reactions. So this was happening in the 80s. Thank you so much, Bishop Omega, for sharing that with us. So, I mean, people look at what we are up against, and that's from the 80s. Chairman, I'm sure that you can relate to what happened in the 80s as well. You know, like, again, I will reiterate my point of the false flag being such a deception, you know, and a deflection from the reality. You know, they want us to believe the fake alien theory and the reverse engineering theory, which, in, you know, we know for a fact, I've personally seen a UFO. So they want us to believe the fake over the real, and it's very deceptive, you know.
All right, well, Chairman, you know, we're moving to the closing hour. Do you have some closing words before we close this thing out?
I mean, everything is so well said, but one thought, and it's not really a thought. I know extraterrestrials are real. I see evidence of it all around. And when we do make contact, they're going to be our cousins. They're going to look just like us, but they're just observing us, hoping and praying that we get it together. Because if they got the intelligence where they can shut down our nuclear weapons and then put them back online, that's saying a whole lot, and that's real. Thank you.
All right. Well, Junior, I'm gonna let you close out. El, do you have any other closing statements?
Actually, I do. I just want to plug the chairman's book by Terrence S. Lake. Go and check it out, God's Child. It's a very good read, and let's support each other in that way. Of course, I want to encourage everybody to go and check out the website. Oh, thanks. Awesome, Chairman. So he's holding up a copy of the book so that you make sure you get the right one. Also, I want to encourage everybody to check out the website. It's upaall.com. Of course, if you want to make donations to the cause, if you want to join the movement, of course, you want to pre-order Lucifer's Revenge, the book that's coming out. And I just want to say, if you are tired of the prejudice, of the stupidity, of the evil, of just all of the things that we're fighting against, okay? If you want to change things for your children to come out of crisis, to change how you get your food, your health care, basic human rights, okay? You need to join this movement. If you are tired of the current situation, because to continue to do the same thing over and over again, cliche is just insanity. And so we need to make a conscious change in our trajectory. Try something different, jump off of the cliff, because the current situation ain't it at all, okay? So I also want to point out that we are recruiting the 144. We need people from all walks of life, okay? All skills, you name it, we need it. Educators, engineers, we need everyone on board, okay? And the reasons why you should join us is because, for one, you want to clear up your spiritual karma, because don't think that you're going to live this life and just, oh, I'm just going to die and that's it for me. No, it's just not universal law, okay? You also want to free yourself economically, get out of this system that's working against you, all right? You being depressed and sad, it's all intentional, okay? It's not just in your head, all right? And of course, if you want the keys to beat this system, you need to make sure that you pre-order this book and you free yourself from the powers that be. So I just want to encourage people to continue to watch the show, continue to follow the movement, because we will be making some major waves in the coming months. And that's my 2 cents, as we say in the Bahamas.
Well put, beautifully said. The piece about my relative that told me about a vision that that her mother had. I'm not going to expand on that right now. I like where the show is, but just to summarize it, it proved, based on my personal situation, I have the experience, as an individual, 60 something years in business, and I have the experience to become a multi-billionaire 10 times over, but not in Lucifer's system. And so Black folks, we are praying to the wrong God because we're still doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. And that's the definition of insanity. My relative proved that they prayed to a God that told them, no, we're not gonna mess with him. And I know the supreme being that I witnessed when I went in the light would not have said that to me, or would not have been a jealous God. So, but I'm gonna go into that in detail. I think I'm gonna write a paper on it, exactly what my relative said. It was very disturbing that their mindset was there because they were basically trying to preserve their own child staying in this demonic system to make money. And they did not want to appear to be in agreement with me. And they go to that extent. And that was the issue. But I'm going to expand on that a little more in the next show. But where else Elle left off, I think it's beautifully said. And I'm going to pass the ball on to my son to close it out and tell us all the things we need to do next.
All the things we need to do.
You said I throw vague questions. Go ahead and handle it.
Yeah, that was pretty specific. Okay. But just like you said about what Sister L said, Chairman Lake said, I don't have a whole lot to add on. The book we are creating, the book we're drafting at this very moment, does do exactly what you said it does. It reveals the wrong God. The wrong God that our people have been praying to for a very long time, or at least reveals the attempt at malefic beings trying to infiltrate your connection to the one true God, the Most High. We reveal that in this book, and I'll say that with confidence. What we also do is everything else just stated, give you a roadmap and a system, a new collective, a new righteous collective that you can be a part of, to where all of these people, all of these skills, all of the will and desire to gain these skills can fit harmoniously in a very well-oiled and righteous collective. Those instructions will also be in this book. So one last shameless plug, go to upall.com, pre-order page, and pre-order the book. That's it. That's all I got to say on that. This has been the Straight Talk Network show. We love you. We always appreciate you guys showing up and showing support, everybody in the comments. Thank you very much for engaging, interacting. And we'll see you next time. All right. Peace out.
out.
Hi, everybody.
Conversation, peace.